Hello, class. I am from Guangxi Financial Vocational College. I am Zhao Wanchen. At a gym nearby, there is a business paradox. Customer renewal rate decreased by 30%, but its customer satisfaction shows a positive rating, maintained at 95%. Why does the praise rate remain unchanged? The renewal rate has gone down. This lesson, let's go through the relevant knowledge of statistical surveys to solve this problem. First, in the internal statistical report, internal statistical reports fall into the trap of averages. Ignore the weight and diffusion of negative feedback. For example, the average rating for a gym is 95%. This results in a small but highly influential negative review rate. It's statistically diluted and invisible. Secondly, internal statistical reports fall into the trap of mixed statistics, missing and improper aggregation of critical packet data. Overshadow the pain points of running a gym. For example, a gym will be operating at its peak. Average waiting time for men's and women's changing rooms. Overshadowed peak operating hours. The problem with the average waiting time for women's changing rooms. In addition, internal statistical reports also fall into the trap of source data distortion, leads to statistical bias. Like a gym front desk wall. Posters with 5-star praise and small gifts. The evaluation data obtained in this way, essentially the act of inducing customer reviews. It is difficult to reflect the true consumer experience of customers. Faced with such a situation, we need to verify satisfaction, the authenticity of the evaluation data, reuse the new organizational form of statistical surveys to get data. So how do we solve it? What about this problem with a gym? Don't worry. In addition to improving internal statistical report design, we can also use other statistical surveys, organizational form. Make sure the reviews collected are more scientific and reasonable. Common organizational forms of statistical surveys: general survey, sample survey, major survey, and typical surveys. All are specialized investigations. Let's first take a look at what a general survey is. The general survey is specially organized. A one-time full investigation. This statistical survey method access to the most comprehensive data. But it also requires a lot of manpower and material resources. Therefore, this method should not be used frequently. We want to do a general survey. Distribute satisfaction questionnaire to several hundred clients of a gym. However, customers may have enabled the anti-harassment mode on their phones, making it difficult for us to retrieve all the questionnaire. Therefore, general survey is not applicable to this survey topic. We can consider use other forms of statistical survey organization. Sample surveys are conducted on a random basis. Take a sample of units from the population. Observe as a sample. To calculate the overall indicator, a form of comprehensive investigation. For example, during peak operating periods, the statistics of the average waiting data in a locker room can be from the customer list of different genders. According to the ratio of male to female customers, random selection of corresponding customers, distribute questionnaire. In addition, big data technologies can also be used. Extract high-frequency feedback from several comments in the questionnaire. Statistics: the main reasons for customer bad reviews or non-renewal. So, what is the major survey? The major survey is based on the principle of randomness. Take a sample of units from the population. Observe as a sample. Used to calculate overall indicators, a non-comprehensive form of investigation. The so-called key unit. It's what we call the critical minority. Like for a gym. Annual consumption accounts for the top 10% of diamond customers. It can be seen as a key minority, because there aren't many of them, but it accounts for the largest proportion of sales to gyms. Therefore, students can apply for the next 3 months. Diamond customers who choose not to renew their cards conduct a major survey. Find a diamond client, the main reason for not renewing the card. And the last form of organization is the typical survey. It is based on the purpose and requirements of the investigation. In the overall picture of the phenomenon studied, after conducting a preliminary analysis, select a representative unit. A form of organization for conducting in-depth investigations. Can a typical survey achieve good results? The key lies in the correct selection of typical units. If the spending habits among customers, the age difference is small, we can dissect the spiral. A customer who chooses not to renew the card. As a typical example, conduct in-depth research. If the spending habits among customers, there are big differences in age. Then it is necessary to adopt the method of classification and site selection. Divide all customers into several groups, then select typical cases from each group for investigation. For example, the customers of a gym are mainly the surrounding college students. There's not a big difference in consumption habits. Therefore, you can dissect this pattern. For those who did not renew the card last month, 3 to 3 customers, conduct an in-depth investigation. Analyze the reasons why customers do not renew their cards. We can follow the actual situation. Flexible use of different forms of statistical survey organization. Rational conduct of statistical surveys. Prevent statistical errors. Organize for follow-up statistics. Prepare for analytical work. Students at gym case reveals. Enterprises' internal statistical reports. There are often 3 traps. The average trap, mixed statistical traps, and data distortion traps. To avoid falling into the trap, businesses can operate on demand, flexible use of specialized surveys, general survey, sample survey, major survey, and typical surveys, to conduct the statistical survey, to make informed decisions. Here's the thing. Attain data integrity and use big data technologies. Not only can companies achieve twice the result with half the effort in statistical surveys, it's the magic weapon for business. In order to consolidate the knowledge learned, please address the needs of campus express pickup services. Select the appropriate survey organization, conduct statistical survey, and upload the results to the learning platform. The above is all the content of this lesson. I'll see you in the next class.